Hi there, I'm Grace from Raspberries and Soda. I'm really excited that you're joining me here today. I can't wait to share my knowledge with you and teach you some techniques and some tips that will help you to maintain and repair your wardrobe, keeping it in tip-top shape so that it will serve you for many years to come. Let's jump in. So, this is our jumper that has a hole in it right there. It's quite a big one. So you want to make sure you're catching all these loops when we mend it. Now I prefer to work from the inside of it than the outside, so we'll just quickly turn it inside out. So here we have the hole, and I've already prepared my black. We're going to do 4 threads of cotton. You can use wool if you have wool, but for this one I'm going to use the 4 strand of cotton, which I'll show you how to do. So you get your needle, your little scissors, you wind off a good length, much more than what you'd normally use of the cotton, and then you fold it in half. So you can see the loop there. Now you make that loop nice and small and thread that through your needle and then fold that through. So you see I've got 4 strands there. And then you pull down, and just like you would if you're doing a double strand, you pull down to the bottom and you snip it. It's just really important that you make sure that your threads are straight. You don't end up with one loop slightly longer than the other, because it can make it tricky to do a nice neat job. You don't need to knot it off, but it just helps keep the threads even. Snipping excess, and I'll just pop that to the side. Put those threads to the side, and we grab our sleeve again. It's really helpful if you have a darning mushroom. I don't have one, but if you do have one, it can be really helpful for keeping the space up so you can see what you're working with. So I'm going to start with my black, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and catch all these loops and make sure that we don't drop any stitches. If you drop a stitch, that's when you're going to get a run. So just leave a little tail. And just go through all the edges, catching all those loose loops and threads. You want to make sure that you can pull it gently. And then coming back down through this side. So what I like to do here is just pull it so it becomes a little bit smaller. It depends on the size of the hole. You don't want to pull it too tight, otherwise you can cause a bunching. But you do want to pull it a little bit so that it's a bit easier to mend. Just going to pull it in. About there's pretty good. It's got a nice circle, but it's not pulling too much. So I tie those off together what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my needle. I'm just going to use the black one. Create that 4th thread again. I'm going to show you the weaving technique I use. So knotting off the end of the thread, and you can leave the tail for this part because you're going to need it to tie off. So staying on the inside, I pick a side that I'm going to work from. So from here, I'm going to go here. Make sure you leave a little bit of tail for tying. So I sort of go inside, picking up a loop, pulling it, and then I go over the top and I come down to the next loop, pulling it inside, pulling it over the top and down to the next loop, pulling it, next loop, next loop. It's important that you make sure you catch all the loops. It doesn't matter if you go a little bit further over, you know, say catch 2 loops. That's okay. The idea is to just make sure that everything is caught and can't run. And now here I like to weave across the top or the bottom, back to the start, and then just knot it off. So those original knots are just to keep the 4 strands flat. You double knot and you cut off those extra threads. So we'll have a look at how that looks from the outside now. I'll just turn the sleeve through for you quickly. So here, just got a couple of loose threads. Just want to make sure I get them. So that's what our little mend looks like. When you look at the grand scheme of the sleeve, very unnoticeable. Now there is a patch up here that is a little bit threadbare. It's been worn on something, so I'm just going to re-weave a section of that. For this, I'm going to use 2 threads of white. So I'm going to start over here, and you just have to pick a point where you can sort of, so here, we'll start here because there's a clear line. We'll start here, and you just follow the pattern. Oh, don't want to get that stuck in there. You just follow the pattern of the knit. So the white goes under there, and then it goes
Do you want to watch Jimmy? Minion?
and then down through here. And then back up. So this one we're imitating the knit. Now you can do this with a hole as well, but it's probably better if you do that with a wool rather than a cotton thread. So here I'm going to come back through. Because this is worn in quite a few places, I'm just going to sort of weave the thread around, picking up different sections that need that little bit of extra support. Going to work with all the white ones first, and then I'll go through with a double thread of black. It's looking pretty good, I think. We can just come down one. And work over this section as well. Just turn the camera a little bit so you can see. So it's making sure we go under those two. And you don't have to pull it tight, just copy the sort of firmness, the size of the loops of the knit. Keeps it nice and easy. So this is just to give that little bit of extra support to the existing knit that is worn a bit thin. So I'm just going to leave that white thread there, and I'm just going to bring my black down to a double instead of the 4 threads. And I'm going to come through and see where black might need a little bit of extra support. Oh.
What you doing?
And make sure that my needle stays threaded. So keeping again a bit of a tail. We want to make sure that we are supporting all the areas that need that extra support. Whether you copy the weave 100% accurately or not is okay, because we're, in this case, we're just strengthening what's already here.
Daddy can fix it. This one. Whose is this one? Whose is this one?
So I'm just going
That's
to
Benjamin's.
go across and bring this black tail over towards this white one. So we've got a black and a white near each other, a black and a white near each other. You can see that's looking a bit more secure. Those frayed edges have a bit more support. So to stop these slipping through, I'm just going to tie them together. Make sure it's a knot that won't slip.
Let's do our best for the overtime as well.
And that's my sewing machine. Again, tying off. So our sleeve is looking a bit more wearable now. So we've pulled this one together and we've re-woven over the top of this so that any loose bits, it won't matter if they unravel a bit. There you have it. How to mend a jumper 2 different ways.